point, there was no indication that was going to happen. We had only gotten Snake and Sonic as third-party characters at this point ever in the series. And look at he's doing all his great moves. This incredible remixed version of Mega Man 2 music. The beautiful CG art. This is still the best Mega Man has ever looked, by the way. Is this like Smash Brothers version of him? The kind of like it like captures the proportions of the 8-bit sprite. Like he's kind of staunchy.
Mike, I'm sick of hearing about things that you love. If you're not gonna bring anything that I oh, okay, wait, what's this? Okay, all right, maybe this might do it for me. This might be my favorite moment from any E3 ever. I've been a long time Legend of Zelda fan, and it's always been like one of my most important franchises, but I also agreed with the assessment that they needed to change things up. And when they said they were going to change things up and they delayed Breath of the Wild, because they're like, we found a new way of doing things, we're going to try to change it. I didn't really believe it. And then they released this trailer and I was just all in. It might be the best trailer for anything ever, period. I don't know. Honestly, it's almost just like good filmmaking, this trailer. Like
it is insane.
They know, like,
here we go.
Yeah.
He's gonna laugh. The bird's gonna laugh. I love it for some reason.
It's good.
I don't know what. It's really good. Here it comes. I think about that all the time. I don't know. Just the way they frame that in that song, it gets me pumped up. Like, yeah, here it comes indeed. That's great. That is so good.
Oh, this is a big boy, Mike.
This is a pretty short clip here. I think everyone's going to know what it is from E3 2004. But see, it's not just about video games, Jeff, and trailers and demos. Sometimes it's just about personalities. And this was like the emergence of the Reginator from 2004.
I'm going to hit play. I'm very excited.
My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass. I'm about taking names. And we're about making games.
That's all we need to know.
For those who don't know, Reggie invented the Bigfoot pizza, I think. So, of course,
I like how that's what you brought up. For those of you who don't know, I thought you were going to talk about how, like, important Reggie was for video games, Nintendo. He invented the Bigfoot.
I think it was the Bigfoot, and I don't think he invented it, but whatever. Yeah, his name's on the patent.
No, he was in his basement, staying up all night. Yep. He's like, I got it. I cracked it. All right, before people get mad, we better do something from Microsoft now. If ever there was a sequel that was anticipated, it was Halo 2. After Halo 1 came out, it was a very big deal.
This is the game that made me get an Xbox. I got an Xbox for Halo 2. Absolutely.
Everyone's very excited. The only thing people didn't like about Halo 2 is the ending, right?
Yeah. Cliffhanger stuff, yeah. Spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
2021.
And I think, especially at this point, this kind of long, uninterrupted gameplay demo was maybe a little bit more unusual, right? I think this is what popularized that flow. Like, even up till, 2015 with Sony, they have a pretty long Uncharted 4 demo. That's basically the same kind of format, right? You just play a long level from the game.
Take it away,
this is
Jason.
E3 2007, and it's kind of hard to believe now, but this was the E3 where Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was the bell of the ball.
Yes.
Call of Duty is the biggest thing in the world right now, and still is, and people are excited about it, but it maybe isn't like a showpiece for the show anymore, because a lot of those people are, again, they're hoping for something more surprising than here's the next Call of Duty. At this point, this was really Call of Duty hitting its stride. Like, that moment right there, people freaked out about. People talked about that all show. You did not see that guy in the tall grass till he got up, and that absolutely destroyed people's brains in 2007. But Jeff, it's not just about gameplay demos and executives. Sometimes celebrities could even make their way into your heart.
Man, this really was a moment, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, everyone loves Keanu Reeves. I'm not one to gaga and go over celebrities, but this is pretty neat.
And remember crowds? He seems to be very interested in the game that he was making. So that's kind of all you can ask for from a celebrity, right? Just come, don't talk down, seem like you're enjoying yourself, maybe even actually enjoy yourself, and people will respond to that. And also, kind of be Keanu Reeves. That helps a lot.
You think they're going to bring him out this year to have him apologize?
facets.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Why don't we go back again, though? Pretty far back to E3 2000 to see what was. Gosh, I was pretty young at this point, but I remember thinking this is the most excited I think I've ever seen people be for a video game. Like, this seemed like it was by far the biggest deal in the world at the time, and it's Metal Gear Solid 2.
And Metal Gear
And also-
Solid was such a big deal. It was, I mean, probably the best PlayStation game. Getting the sequel on PlayStation 2, seeing all this stuff, and just it just looked so good, so cinematic. Yeah.
So you have to understand, like, at this point, the fact that we're seeing raindrops like bouncing off of objects, and we're seeing this like these light bloom effects, like this was all pretty nuts at this time. This
Games just didn't look like this before this point, and it was this perfect storm of the best artists in the world working with the best technologists in the world to make a video game.
All right, Jeff, you want to close this out with maybe the first E3 moment?
I do.
Back in 1995, again, the first E3, and this was Sony's big moment. It was following Sega's little show about the Saturn, and their surprise that it's out now, which just confused everybody. And this is how Sony responded as they were getting ready to launch the original PlayStation.
To ask Sony Computer Entertainment President of America, Steve Reyes, to join me for
So
a brief.
this guy right here had just given a long, boring presentation, and he did that on purpose to really emphasize what's about to happen right here, where Steve Reyes is going to come out and say one thing.
$299.
Got chills there a little bit because that's it right there. This is them understanding immediately. This is PlayStation, not out yet. Sony, not really in video games yet, especially not as a hardware company. But they already understand how to do this E3 show, come up and make a huge impact. It's kind of unbelievable. And it was the rest is history, right? Like Saturn had to bow out because the Saturn was too expensive. Sony knew that. They undercut the price by $100. And then every time Sega would respond, PlayStation would lower the price until Sega just couldn't keep in the business anymore. And they tried a few other systems after that, but it was the writing was on the wall at that point, and it all happened right there with PlayStation understanding how to play this E3 game. It's
See, there's all sorts of fun. I didn't even talk about giant enemy crabs and weird Elder Scrolls 6 announcements years before we'll ever see it. But there's all sorts of fun stuff, Jeff. Imagine all the fun stuff that's happening right now and what will happen in the future. So just admit it, Jeff. Admit that you love E3.
all right. I'm a fan. I admit it. I'm not just a games journalist. I like games too. Don't tell anybody.
No, we're telling everyone.
Okay.
I'm calling your mom, calling your wife.
All right, that's going to do it for us, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the show. I hope we didn't keep you too long. And if you tuned back and you're just getting here right now and you're confused, good.
Yeah, we don't
deserve us. I hope your favorite game gets announced next. I'm sorry. All right, everybody, have a good one. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Mana Ikeda, and I currently work for a Japanese video game company called ARTPLAY as the current art director. And previously, I worked on Bloodstained Ritual of the Night as the communications manager, and I also drew the box art. So that's just kind of a summarized version of myself. I always thought I was going to be an illustrator, like just a freelance illustrator from start to the end. Art was my passion, and it still is, but I always wanted to try something new all the time. Anything that I was interested in, like comics, video games, just anything in general. For me, art directing is something that improves the overall gameplay, and and also the game designer will know, like, oh, there was these kinds of ideas, because when I started to do this job, like they didn't really have an idea of what they really wanted to do visually. So it's basically like, oh, I want to make this kind of game, but I don't know what it looks like. And for me, that's where I come in and kind of help them kind of fill that in. I started as a fan, and I really wanted to. Well, my artwork was very inspired by the games that they've created in the past. So at that point, I knew what I wanted as a fan, and with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, it was a game that's based on gothic horror and the past, and the people that were working on the past Castlevania games were working on. And for me, I was a huge fan of Castlevania and the gothic feeling of that entire series. And I haven't seen a lot of games that were like that, and it was very unique. And since my artwork was inspired by that kind of game, I drew a lot of those kind of dark horror game kind of style. I was someone who knew from a very young age that I wanted to be an artist and do this specific type of work. And even though I didn't really know, or I had one specific goal, I still struggled to do so. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that because they wanted to be something like a specific job they want and they can't achieve it, even though they try really hard. And for me, I think that's totally fine, and they should try something else that's new, because if I didn't take this chance of becoming a communications manager and also the translator for the company, I wouldn't have been in this art director position at all. I would have been like, I would be like, no, I want to do art as a career. I'm not going to take this translation job. And I still, to this day, be a freelance artist taking on these mundane work that, that I had no art direction whatsoever in. And so I feel like for those who are struggling and, thinking of quitting their passion job, because it's, like if you're working on something that you're very passionate about, you get very emotional about it. And I'm sure a lot of people feel very down when things don't go right, or things that they're worried about, doesn't get resolved doing the same kind of work over and over again. So I feel like for those people, like in a very similar situation as when I was struggling as an artist, I feel like they should try something else that's new. So for me, video game was like my second passion, and I really wanted to be involved in some way. So I decided to take on that job and be a translator. But in the end, people, when you're very passionate about something, people recognize that. And I was both passionate about video game and art. So in the end, I became an art director that I never thought I would be able to do. So I feel like for those people, take the chance, even if it might not be something that you really want to do as an end goal. You should take the chance if it does change your career.
Great stuff there. Of course, remember, video games are so much more than just making them and having that kind of thing. You could do anything and be involved in video games. And so if you have the passion, the drive, the determination, you can make your dreams come true and have some kind of job in the video game industry. Also, of course, before that, there was a Jeff Grubb Games Beat thing. I was told behind the scenes that it didn't play, that it was a joke. Jeff Grubb is not a terrible person. He's just extremely old and shouldn't be listened to. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, don't forget to check out e3expo.com/shop for limited edition E3 apparel like this. Because you might be saying, I'm having a great time watching you do this, Greg. Man, if only I could commemorate it in a way that I could wear all the time when I go to the old baseball games or the sock hops. Because you're going to walk in there and old Toby's going to be behind the bar cleaning the glass. I'm painting a picture. And he's going to say, man, what is that shirt well, I guess what's the hat you're wearing, the shirt you got? If I know there's Vegas bets if I'll take my shirt off during E3, but they mic me up too well. I can't do it. But maybe get a bomber jacket, Look, doesn't that Tom Cruise? He's got another movie coming out where he's flying around. Don't you want to look like him? But a guy version of Tom Cruise who went to E3, and I guess he didn't go technically, COVID and everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much more happening here. Don't worry about that. There's no way I can get the script back on track, is there? Because I'm talking about the E3 shop that you should go do too, right? Let me just go for it, all right? With more of our gaming and movies theme today, let's talk about the lines between gaming and cinema continuing to blur. Oh, Jordan Vogt-Roberts, the man behind the lens directing upcoming projects Metal Gear and Gundam, sat down with the folks at Entertainment Weekly to talk about the future of these film and these IPs and these shirts that you can get and wear to the sock hops.
Hello, E3. This is Nick Romano with Entertainment Weekly magazine. Thank you so much for joining us today for a panel discussion with filmmaker Jordan Vogt-Roberts. Jordan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about all things video games and E3.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot to talk about. I mean, I think it's safe to say people mostly know you for making films like Kong Skull Island and The Kings of Summer, but you're also a major gamer. Can you talk a little bit about just your history in the gaming industry? What was sort of your big introduction?
I mean, I was just one of those kids who at a very young age, video games rewired my brain. You know, I'm the type of guy who if I walk into a room and there's a box, my first instinct is, in what combination do I need to move this box to unlock a door? Or, God forbid, if I ever walked in a room and there was like a triangular eye on the wall, I would think, I definitely need a bow right now to shoot that eye and unlock something.
We know that you're working on a movie adaptation of Metal Gear Solid. You're working on a live-action Gundam. I mean, is it safe to say that your filmmaking moving forward is sort of more inspired by video games?
You know, ironically, Metal Gear is something I've been trying to, Sisyphus push up the hill for 7+ years. That game and Kojima-san's world means the world to me, and that's something that I'm very proud of what we're doing, and I think that it is very sort of Kojima punk rock, twisty, and then Gundam likewise is, the godfather of like otaku culture in a lot of ways, without exaggeration. It is the grandfather to modern anime, and thus most Japanese things that we love. It really is wild what Gundam was doing on television in an animated format in the 70s, and the complexity and the weight of the stories they were telling. And so, I have a lot of things that I want to do in my career, but, those are only the kind of nerd properties that I'm attached to that are even announced. There's other game things and other IPs that I'm working on. But yeah, a big part of my driving force is to be a part of these things and to help rewrite the narrative of how people perceive these franchises and how they properly get translated, and how you take a filmmaker who understands the core of what these were as you go through the process of translating the active experience of playing a game, in which you can tell a story a different way because you are the protagonist, versus the passive experience of watching a film. And so those aren't one-to-one translations, and so I think you really need to understand when playing a game what it elicits from you, why it makes you feel certain ways, what the tone that it evokes is, what those real idiosyncrasies that kind of make up each game is, and how you then translate those things to the passive experience of watching a film. And so it's just something I've been obsessed with for a long time, and I feel very fortunate to be able to be a part of these projects.
In terms of Metal Gear Solid, I've documented all of your tweets about the long process of adapting this movie. I mean, what do you think it was about the original games that had such an impact on you and kept you motivated to keep this project alive?
That game came out same year, same month, basically, as Ocarina of Time. And so on a PlayStation and Nintendo level, you have, I think, two of the most seminal works in all of gaming that are going to set the groundwork moving forward for the template of how we transition into not just 2D to 3D, but then how we evolve each of these things. So yes, it's very easy to look at Metal Gear and say, oh, look how cinematic this is. But you're dealing with these characters that are walking, talking ideologies. And they all represent different slivers and ideas of, I think, this like basic question of how do we make the world whole again? And they're all trapped in the cycle of pain. And, you know, to me, the most memorable and touching thing that still sticks with me. Yes, you're transported and suddenly you're playing this movie and people are talking in acronyms and code and you're just thrust into it. And you have this incredible rogues gallery of kind of over the top, like iconic, you know, Marvel iconic level characters. But the feeling when you kill Sniper Wolf, or when you kill a lot of bosses in that game, that up until that point in gaming, killing a boss was always viewed as a victory. And that was like, hell yeah, I'm past it. And instead, you're met with this moment of somberness and regret and incredibly meaningful, and hit me at that exact moment in my life where like there can never be another release of a game or something that hit me at that those teenage years when I was just fully ready to just be consumed by it and transported.
So now, sort of in the timeline for you, are you moving towards the live-action Gundam movie now, or are you doing Metal Gear Solid first?
You know, I'm waiting for the next thing to be greenlit, and you know, whichever one that is, like I don't control when the studios choose which movie they're making when, and so I love both these things to death. You know, I have other movies and other things that aren't IP based that I also can't wait to go and make sort of a smaller $30 million thing where I'm just going buck wild. But yeah, call up the studio and ask which green light's going to happen first.
Sounds like a plan. And I know a lot of the details, like, you know, for both of these projects are kind of under lock and key. I was curious if there is anything you can sort of tease about your approach to Gundam, especially because the mythology is so vast, and it feels like you could kind of drop a pin anywhere and kind of start there.
I mean, Gundam is such a fascinating thing. Similar and dissimilar from the challenge of Metal Gear, because Gundam also is a story that they've been telling for 42 years in the Universal Century timeline. Then in addition to that, they have several other alternate timelines with other series, some that go on multiple series and movies.